All right. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome to Earth School Journey. I'm Umi Steph, and this is my beautiful, wonderful, amazing co host, Uni.
Hi, greetings.
Hi. How are you doing?
I'm doing really good. How about you?
I'm doing well. It's Christmas Eve.
Yes,
And
it is.
we're still doing this thing where we record early and then we're live in the chat with you guys during the time when we would normally be live. So it is still Christmas Eve. It's just earlier in the day. By the time you see this, it'll be 6 o'clock. And yeah, so we're gonna be in the comments, ask questions, talk to us, talk to each other. That's we really want to build a sense of community. So while we're recording the program today, while we're premiering it live, we'll be there to talk with you, to answer your questions, to, go further with the conversation. We may have new insights between now and tonight. You never know.
So true.
So, this is our study hall on unconditional love. It has been a very interesting month dealing with this particular topic. I think I thought it was going to be all sunshine and angels and, all of that when we started this because I was talking about wanting to experience more unconditional love. Um, but I'm going to put this question to you because we do this in study hall. How has Earth School been going for you, Uni? How's it going?
Okay, deep breath. It's been a really, really good month, I think, overall. The lessons that have been coming up about unconditional love for myself and others it's just been really, really powerful. And I'm grateful to be, sitting in the space to do the work so that I can, really be aware, you know what I mean? And really pay attention to, what's going on around me and paying attention to how I'm showing up. um, I think it was just the other day, I was just, I suggested that everyone else like kind of ponder unconditional love. Like, what does it mean? Just think about it. You know what I mean? You don't have to do anything extensive. Just consider it. And even though I've been doing my journaling, I've been, meditating, I've been really, as I said initially, immersing myself in unconditional love. That was really my intention that I set for the month. I started to ponder it as well. And the other day, and I was just like, wow, like, just thinking about it as I'm like walking to my car from the grocery store, as I'm getting out of the car, just thinking about unconditional love, just putting those thoughts out there has been, I think, really powerful for me. And I'm gonna be honest, like I am giving myself a little hand clap because I feel like the compassion that I have for myself and others, and even when I get upset or even when things don't go as expected, I feel like I'm allowing myself to sit with my feelings. I'm not pushing it away. If I'm upset, I'm allowing myself to be upset. I'm not acting out of malice or anything like that. And I just feel really good about the work that we're doing. I feel like it has really helped me. And just more and more revelations have been coming up, for me to love myself, even more unconditionally. Just things from when I was younger and I was not as aware of certain things and I wasn't as careful about the life that I was living. I've been thinking about those things, and instead of beating myself up about them, instead of, ruminating and going on, I've been giving myself love and grace for what I wasn't aware of, and knowing that I'm so grateful to, number one, be aware, and that I'm not going to go down those paths again. So it's really been a very interesting journey, and I'm usually I don't pat myself on the back, but I think that's a part of the growth process. You know what I mean? Giving myself the credit that I deserve and just really continuing to embrace it, embrace the journey. So yeah, thank you so much for asking. How's our school journey been going for you?
Oh, well, it's been a up and down month for me. And we've talked a lot about this. I'm learning a lot about myself. Um, and like where I need to kind of grow and fortify myself. Not just grow as in like I need to do better, but like I need to be stronger in certain areas. I need to be more grounded. I need to be more aware. Um, and also that I need to be kinder to myself, more loving to myself. That's been a big, I think, revelation for me. Like it's something that right? But then when you start working with something like you're meditating on unconditional love, I've been journaling a lot more this month than I normally do, and that's kind of been my way of exploring unconditional love and writing out kind of lists of things that I'm grateful for, and what I'm grateful for that's developing and on its way and that I'd like to see, and um just looking at the patterns of what I'm asking for, what I'm grateful for. And I've come to a lot of realizations about just where I need to kind of strengthen my own self, strengthen my resolve around my values, strengthen my resolve around how I want others to treat me, and what I'm going to do when they don't, how I'm going to interact with them, or if I'm going to interact with them. And so it's been a very enlightening month for me. Ups and downs, definitely, things that are not always easy to incorporate. When you realize that there are maybe people in your life who are not willing to treat you the way that you deserve to be treated, and how you're going to interact with them going forward, if at all. Um, So yeah, it's been a very interesting month. That's the only way that I can answer. I won't say bad. I won't say good. Although there's been so much good. I don't want to seem like ungrateful because there's a lot of good things that are happening um in my life. We just got another piece done on the house that we're like towards getting the house done.
Yay!
It came through today and I was like, yes, Christmas Eve, it came through. And so like, and we're still like in the paperwork stage of things. We're not actually doing anything yet on the land, but when you just have these little pieces fall into place, it's a reminder like God is still working, spirit is still moving things, and I'm doing my work, in my own little bubble inside myself and watching spirit do things for me on the outside, things that are out of my control. I can't design a septic system. I have to wait for somebody to do it for me. It just so happened to pop up today, you
That's
know,
beautiful.
and I'm so grateful. But yeah, so that's kind of how I'm doing.
I'm so happy to hear that you've been doing the work. You know what I mean? Taking it step by step, day by day. So
Hmm.
that's amazing.
Yeah, yeah. So, as you all know, when we do a study hall, we are going to kind of highlight practices and resources and all kinds of things that will help you on this particular journey that we are on this month. This month being all about unconditional love. And some of the things that we kind of uncovered in our conversations were dealing with things like anger, boundaries, forgiveness. These were all things that kind of came up naturally in the conversations. And so the practices that we have to talk about this month are all surrounding those things. And the first one is Ho'oponopono. So I don't know how knowledgeable our viewers are about what Ho'oponopono is, but it's a Hawaiian practice, and it's about reconciliation and forgiveness, and kind of correcting your own thoughts about a situation, a person, a thing, whatever it is that is, you know, not going right for you. I've used this practice when I've needed it, when I've really been betrayed and really felt unloved and really felt just I think betrayed is really the best word. Eh, Let me tell this dog to be quiet. Sorry about that. I just keep hearing her barking in the background. Um so Ho'oponopono, and the way it goes is it's I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And you do that with a particular person in mind. You can use their name. Um and when I first started this practice, um I kept saying to myself, why am I saying I'm sorry to someone who I feel like needs my forgiveness? Right? Because it starts off, I'm sorry, please forgive me. And in my mind, I would just reject this practice because I'm like, but they need the forgiving, but they did this to me. And so I was betrayed. I should be the one doing the forgiving, right? I should be the one being apologized to. So why would I do a practice that says, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you? Especially if that moment I'm not feeling very loving towards someone who's betrayed me. And so as I learned more and more about this practice, it's really it's really goes deep, because the I'm sorry is not I'm sorry that you did this thing to me. The I'm sorry is I'm sorry that I can't see you as whole, that I can't see you as a person who is loving and kind and generous, and I can't see the God in you. That's what the I'm sorry is. And the please forgive me is the please forgive me that, you know, I have called you into my existence to do this thing to me. It's really a remembrance practice, I feel like, because it makes you remember this is this is Earth School. Each person has come here. We've all made these agreements. These things have to happen. And it's really a practice that puts you back in that mind so that you see them in their wholeness and in their oneness again. Doesn't necessarily mean they're going to see themselves that way. And the practice is not for that purpose. And you can also use this practice to forgive yourself in a situation like this. I think I may have talked about how the money that we had for to build the house was stolen by a contractor. And so I've done this practice with that contractor, and I've had to do it in my with myself in regards to that contractor. And the I'm sorry was I'm sorry I allowed myself to be taken advantage of, right? I forgive myself for allowing myself to be taken advantage of. You know, um I thank myself for getting through it, for learning, for and I love myself, and going through that process over and over. I did it for 28 days. I did it for 28 days last year where I went through this process. And I'm going to start another process in January, not just around that, but I want to identify a few people in my life where I feel like I need to do this for and start a process of practicing this Ho'oponopono process. I guess I want to ask you, do you have any experience using this practice at all, or what are your thoughts around Ho'oponopono?
So you were the one who actually introduced me to this like a year or so ago, and I thought it was like amazing. One of the things, so I would say like other than that, I don't really have much experience with it. One of the things that I have been saying to myself, which is similar, I believe, is that I want to see the God in people.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see the good in people. We are really into astrology and we talk a lot about astrology. And I've shared with you how I feel like my Scorpio placements, which see into the deep, dark depths of people,
Yeah.
places, and things can bring up some things that, just my very energy sometimes. And it's shocking to me at times, the things that I see and hear people say and do, and the behavior of, you know what I mean? And, I've been praying more and more as I've gotten older that, if I can see the quote unquote worst in people naturally, then I can see the best in people naturally as well. I do believe in the Hermetic principles and the principle of polarities where, everything is on a similar spectrum, but are at opposite ends. And so I'm just like, at this point, I've seen enough of the darkness. I want to see the light, I want to see the light in people. And that has been my prayer, to that, if I can pull that out, then I can pull out the best of people as well, because what has happened is that I feel like it's a pattern in my life
Mhm.
that has shown up. And so it shows me that, yes, this is my energy. This is what I'm here to learn in Earth School. And now I'm ready for a new lesson. So I'm ready to graduate from that, and use what I've learned from seeing in the dark to expose the light, you know what I mean, and share more of the light. And that's really what we're doing here with Earth School Journey, overall. But yeah, that's really my perspective. It's a similar kind of thought process, but I didn't really have that knowledge until you brought that to me. So thank you.
Oh, okay. Wonderful. Oh, okay. So yeah, Ho'oponopono was a new one for me until I want to say a couple of years ago I learned about it. But last year was the first year I really put it into practice and used it, um because I was really going through some, struggles with feeling victimized and all of that. So I do encourage everyone to kind of look it up. I will make sure that there are some links in the description about the practice so that you can, look into it and see how it may help you. Definitely, it's a practice that requires consistency, as all practices do. As most practices do. You need some kind of consistency. Um, and so I definitely recommend like giving yourself an amount of time and saying, I'm going to do it for this amount of time and continuing to do it. Um, and the story behind Ho'oponopono and the person who really advocated it and brought it to every day. I can't remember his name, but I know that like he started with like working with some criminally insane people, and he never met any of these people. He would just do the Ho'oponopono with their charts, their files. And
Wow.
as he did that practice, they all recovered and were
Wow.
released. And so it's a really powerful practice, even with people you don't know, even if you've never, so I totally, I think that everyone could benefit from knowing something about this practice. I mean, and I say this practice because it's out there, it's well known, it's researched. There's a whole lot of research on it. Um, but forgiveness practices, we all know, are like key, especially when it comes to showing love and unconditional love. Okay, so the next practice that we have on here is the meta prayer, which is also called the loving kindness meditation. And it's a Buddhist practice. And it's kind of similar to Ho'oponopono, but it's not really, it doesn't really involve forgiveness so much as just sending love from that heart space, just sending love. I've also used this when angry. Like when you're trying to move the energy of anger, I've done a lot of things to move the energy of anger in a peaceful way, right? And so this is another one that I've done. But I find this to be a great daily practice just in general. Um and I don't know, how familiar are you with the loving kindness meditation, the meta prayer?
I feel like you introduced me to this one too, but I feel like I heard a variation of it,
Uh-huh.
but I feel like the term meta prayer is something that you introduced me to. So
Okay.
yeah. Hmm.
So the way this one goes, it's you can do it for self, you can do it for a specific person, or you can do it for all of humanity, which is beautiful. And when I've practiced it, I've either done it specifically for a person or I've done it for all of humanity.
That's how I learned it for all of
All of
humanity.
humanity.
Yeah.
Right.
Hmm.
Yeah. And so when you're doing it, say all of humanity, it's may all beings be happy, may all beings be well, may all beings be safe, may all beings be peaceful and at ease. And it's such a loving, like it's just I don't know when you just say it. I don't know how I am a very sensory person, so I feel it in my physical being, like the lightness of it, the the love of it, just saying it, you know. And so this has been a practice that you can use anytime if you just want to increase the amount of love and the amount of kindness that you are being and that you are experiencing. This I find the loving kindness meditation to be just a beautiful way to do that. Last year when I was in prac studies, we actually used this. We our whole presentation was on love. We
Hmm.
had to do a whole presentation on love, and this meta prayer, the loving kindness meditation, is what we focused on as the center of like a way to amplify love, a way to grow love, a way to shine light on love. Um, and so I really enjoy this practice as a, you know, yes, if you're angry or sad or you're dealing with some negative emotion, it really does help. But it's just a great practice to have to be in, just to keep a baseline level of love in your life, you know?
Yeah.
So I find it to be a really great prayer to have just as a daily thing. You can write it on a little 3x5 card and keep it on your altar. I've also, you guys know that I'm good for writing on my mirrors. I write on mirrors so that I see them and say the, you know, the mantras and things like that. So there's lots of ways that you can incorporate it into your life. Um, if you are upset with someone specific or they're struggling, that saying the meta prayer for, you know, may you be may you be happy, may you be well, may you be safe, may you be peaceful and at ease, you know, it does help to mend relationship as well. So yeah, that's really the meta prayer, and that's another practice that I would really, I'll link, like I said, I'll have a couple of links in the show notes so that everyone can learn more about these practices. These are things that I literally do. And I'm giving, you know, things that are off of my out of my own toolbox. These are things that I pull out of my own toolbox just to either deal with everyday situations or deal with really hard situations. Um, so the next practice is a prayer practice, and I'm gonna let Uni talk about this one because this is one that you felt very strongly about when we were in our pre meet. Yeah.
Yeah, I know you had mentioned briefly, just very briefly, about how, there's energy that travels, through our food and how, how our food is treated before it gets to us is, it's really important to really consider that, you know what I mean? And I thought about how, growing up, we used to pray before we ate. We used to pray over our food. And I'm not going to lie, like it's something that I do sometimes, but I don't do it all the time. But since you mentioned that, I said to myself, I was like, yeah, like we have to start praying over our food to help us to really embrace and surround ourselves and immerse ourselves in unconditional love because guess what? We are what we eat. We've been hearing that phrase all of our lives. You are what you eat. but we don't think about it from a energetic standpoint. You know what I mean? Sometimes we think about it from, oh, the nutrients that this food gives, the health benefits, or the negative, health benefits that it has, or the non-healthy benefits that it has. We don't think about the energy that's immersed in our food. And I love how now there's been this whole movement the last maybe 15 to 20 years or so about like the farm to table movement, and really getting away from having so many different hands touching your food. I mean, people, they order, and I'm not judging, but I don't do like DoorDash or Uber Eats or anything like that. I don't want extra people handling my food and their energy being over my food. That's just me. But I think that regardless whether you do or you don't, just thinking about praying over your food and just making sure that the energy of that's over your food is really helping you, and it's beneficial for you, and it's nourishing to you, and it's uplifting you, and it's filling you with love and all of those things, because you don't know where it was or who it was with or what they were doing before it got to you. I saw someone post, it was like a random post on social media, and it was like, we give a lot of we trust our food preparers, you know what I mean, people in restaurants, whether it's a fast food or local food chain or whatever. We're trusting in these people to handle our foods, and we're literally ingesting it. We don't really know the energy that it brings. And so I really want people to think about that for a second. Think about the fact that, the energy that is surrounding your food from the time it's, either being grown from the earth, or the time it's being grown from a seed or a baby chicken or whatever it is. You know what I mean? There's energy surrounding your food, and you don't know whose energy it is. You don't know who it's around. But I'm going to tell you, as a sentient being, and knowing that food is sentient, it absorbs energy as well, just like we do. It's so important to pray over your food. So I really wanted to bring that to the forefront when we're talking about unconditional love, because we have to work on making sure that we are not allowing other people's, negative energy. Someone could have been having a bad day and they were handling your food. They could have been cursing everything to hell and they're handling your food and you're ingesting it. You know what I mean? And now you don't know why you're having a bad
Right.
day. Now you don't know why your life is falling apart. Let me tell you something. Energy is real. And I think
Oh
that
yeah.
people need to definitely pay more attention, be more careful, and really start praying over your food again. Like I'm sure many of us did it when we were younger. And if, like me, you kind of got away from it, I really think that, it'll benefit us to just take a moment and bless our food, pray over it, pray that, there's, just positive energy, and it brings love and peace and nourishment to your body. So, yeah, thank you
Mhm.
for allowing me to share it with me.
Yes, yes. No, thank you for bringing that up. I think it's really important. And just like you, I did it a lot when I was younger, and then as I got older, it became less of a practice. um this is one that Christy's really good at. My wife is really good at praying over her food. She never, like, she always remembers. I'm like,
Oh, I love that.
she's like, "Ugh, we have to pray." you know um I am better about praying over food while I'm cooking it, blessing the
Mm-hmm.
food as I'm
Same.
cooking it. But not when I'm about to eat it. So like when other people have prepared it, or even when I've prepared it and I've just sat down, and you know, maybe it's redundant, but I don't think so. I don't think you never have enough prayer.
Never. Not in
um,
this day.
and this goes kind of into the next thing that I want to talk about, which is the book Anger by Thich Nhat Hanh. I had mentioned that I had started reading it. I'm still not finished with it. I'm about more than halfway through. And really, one of the things that he does talk about in that book is how the food that we consume can be full of anger. And, that food that was loved will bring love, but food that was raised with neglect, and and he was specifically talking about chickens and caged chickens who are um they're caged, and so they're being fed hormones and different things to make them lay more. There's like artificial light and things like that so that they lay more eggs because of things like that, and how they'll peck each other's eyes out and stuff like that. And um it was just and all of that anger ends up in the eggs that you then eat, or in the meat that you then consume, if you're a meat eater. um and that also can translate into plants, because plants that are sprayed with pesticides and chemicals, and that are fertilized with chemical fertilizers, things that have been made up in the lab, and that the natural process of decomposition is not allowed to fertilize and nourish the food, and that energy is not being recycled, that it loses its nourishment, it loses its power. It's and so praying over our food is huge. So I'm so glad that you brought that up, and you were like, no, we need to talk about this, because it's really is huge. It was a big reason that I wanted to move to the country and like start my own farm, was especially with my, and it didn't immediately occur to me about food, but with medicinal herbs, I'm like, I don't want herbs somebody else grew. I don't know how they raise them, how they bless them or not, or how they treated them. Are they just trying to grow them for mass consumption or something like that? And yes, I still use those herbs, but I feel like I have to say an extra prayer over those things when I'm using them. So I really do appreciate you bringing that up. Um, so thank you. But so yeah, the next thing I will talk about is this book. It's called Anger. It's by Thich Nhat Hanh. It's an older book. It's probably written in the 90s, I want to say. But very relevant. Everything in there are very relevant. And it's a hard book to read if you're struggling with anger. I will say that. But one of the things that he really talks about is to treat your anger like your baby. And just as if you heard your baby crying and you were doing something else, you would stop what you were doing to go take care of your baby. That if you're in the middle of doing something and something angers you, you should stop what you're doing and take care of your anger so that it doesn't grow, so that it's not fed, and so that you're loving on yourself and taking care of yourself. And he really talks about dealing with anger in the sense of loving, of being more loving, of extinguishing the fire of anger so that you can have more love in your life. And that's why I'm presenting this book, here in this study hall on unconditional love, because for me, I've found my biggest boundary to being loving is anger. Not just my anger towards other people, but other people's anger towards me. However misguided, it's still something in my life that's really heavy and kind of weighs on me. Um, and so I found it really interesting and useful, all that he has about how to take care of your own anger. Um, and that he calls it your baby, and that, you should take care of it in that way. He does go through a lot of practices and things that you can do with a partner or a child or a parent or relationship wise. But the overwhelming majority of this book is about how to deal with your own anger and to settle that before interacting with anyone. How to calm that and be okay in here before you go and interact with people. And so I definitely recommend reading this book. I am not 100% done with it, but what I've read so far, and I've had this book for years. I just want to say that it's been one of those books that's been sitting there that I've started multiple times, and then I just like I would get pissed off and not want to read the rest of it.
You get angry
I
while
get
reading
angry.
anger.
Yes, I'm angry at the book. what do you mean I need to listen to the other person? I don't want to listen. You know what I mean? Like it's really, because the very first chapter they talk about listening to the other person and how deep listening can squelch anger. And if you're the angry person, you don't want to hear that. And so I've had this book, I want to say at least 4 years. And this is the
Mm,
first time I've actually gotten past the first chapter.
wow.
And I love it. I'm finding it to be very good and very useful. Not easy, not easy, but actually very useful. And it really does help you to look within at, what is it? Because he goes into like, okay, the reason why you're mad may not be the reason why you're mad. The reason why you're
Right.
mad is it's touching something else,
Right.
you know. And so yeah, it really, it's really a great resource if you're dealing with anger and you need to kind of get, or you're dealing with an angry person. You may not be the angry one. Although I have found in my experience, as I used to not be the angry person, that you get to a certain age and then it all builds up, because all of this time I have not wanted to be the angry person because I've dealt with angry people. And then you kind of get to a point in your life where you're like, oh crap, I'm becoming them. I don't want to be that. And that's been my thing. It's like I didn't feel loved by these people who were angry. I don't want to be an angry person so that other people don't feel loved by me. Um, and so, yeah, I definitely recommend checking that book out and giving it a try. Get past the first chapter though. That first one's gonna piss you off.
That's so funny. I do want to say real quick, I want to plug the feelings wheel again. When you were just
Yes.
talking just now, there's something behind your anger. Either
Yep.
you feel rejected, you feel unheard, you might feel unloved, you might feel, just disregarded. There's just so many feelings that I
Yeah.
wasn't really aware of until, I got my hands on that feelings wheel a few years back. And again, being able to name the source of your anger is really helpful. It is so helpful to help you to start to, like you said, give it that attention, calm it down, once you're able to really name the source, you can kind of fill that hole in yourself. You can give yourself what you need, because at the end of the day, it's really all about, again, we talked about this, all throughout the month. It's really about filling ourselves up, filling our own cups, filling ourselves up with unconditional love. And so that, it'll overflow into our lives and onto others. But when you're able to name the source of your anger, let me tell you, it's like there's like this immediate release because you feel heard or seen, or that feeling feels heard or seen or acknowledged. You know
Right.
what I mean? Very powerful. So yeah, thank you so much for bringing that book up and making that point, because it really
Mhm.
made me think about that feelings well.
Yeah. Yeah. No, thank you for plugging that again, because I think we don't always realize, you look at the big ones, you're like anger, sadness, love, those big things, and we don't think about the more, minute, like sometimes it's not always anger either. Sometimes it's frustration. Sometimes,
Hmm.
it's just so many different layers to it that it could be going back. And 9 times out of 10 it's going back to some level of fear somewhere, but determining exactly the name of the emotion that is being touched and causing the anger, it can identify the source. Oh, this goes back to my childhood, or this goes back to that relationship, or that job I had, or it's pulling this up. And then yes, like, oh, now I see it, and it feels seen and heard, and it can be allowed to, dissolve and release. um So thank you for that. Uh, the next, I didn't really know this isn't a practice so much as a way of life. So I don't know what to call it. I called it like a practical, something. I don't know. This is, and it's hugely important. It's talked about in spiritual communities, and we're talking about it in a spiritual sense, but it's also very practical. It's talked about also in like therapy communities and things like that. But it's boundaries. Okay. When we're talking unconditional love, people think, oh, it's unconditional. Well, I can unconditionally love you without having you in my life. I can unconditionally love you and not let you keep doing that thing that hurts me. Okay. And
Right.
we have a few like ways that you can um implement those things, but before we get into that, I'm gonna turn it over to you, Uni, to see, tell me how you feel about boundaries and what they look like in practice for you.
Yeah, I can be a very all or nothing type of person. And I have had to learn over time that, it's okay to, again, first feel my feelings and acknowledge them. And, really let people know when I, feel unheard, unseen, unacknowledged, or, whatever the case may be. And I have learned to like really, I feel like boundaries is almost like a drawing. Of course it's drawing a line, you know what I mean, and it's saying basically that I don't necessarily want to terminate this connection. Maybe I want to terminate this dialogue, this conversation. Maybe I don't appreciate people calling me after 10 o'clock, you know what I mean. Listen, if you're not going to respect that I don't like to be called after 10 o'clock, I'm not going to continue to answer your phone calls or whatever the case may be. Just putting a boundary of letting people know that you have a preference, And I feel like for me, the reason why it was so hard for me to establish boundaries and hold them in place is because of, again, my childhood, my upbringing. I was not allowed to establish boundaries. I was barely allowed to say what I liked or didn't like. You know what I mean? Much less have boundaries, And I have since, really changed the narrative, in my opinion, for my bloodline. I allow my daughter to speak up, from a young age. You don't like something, it's okay to let me know you don't like it. It's okay to let me know that you'd rather not do something. We can talk about it. Opening up the dialogue has really helped me. Being a parent, I would say it was really like one of the main keys to helping me learn boundaries, because allowing my daughter to try to, and not to say that I was ever a perfect parent or anything like that, but I definitely that's one area that I can say that I leaned into, because I didn't have that teaching growing up. And so for me, boundaries has been really important. It's helped me to retain relationships, whereas before, I'd say something, I'd let people know that I felt uncomfortable, and they wouldn't acknowledge it. Maybe I would say it again, and I'd end up terminating the relationship. That would be, unfortunately, a path that I would go down pretty frequently, because I felt like people were not respecting my boundaries. But I realized, oh, you're back. I was trying to keep going. um, I realized people were not respecting what I was saying, but I also realized that I wasn't necessarily putting it in the terms of a boundary. It was just kind of saying like, hey, I don't really like that. You know what I mean? Or hey, I'm not feeling that. I wouldn't necessarily put a boundary up and say, listen, if this is going to continue, I'm not going to continue. You know what I mean? Or anything like that. So that's really what the journey has been for me when it comes to boundaries. It's something that I've definitely been it's I'm still learning, to be honest with you, because again, it's coming from an all or nothing sort of background where I had relatives that were that way. And so that's how I learned to be. And so it's been a journey. That's all I can say. Oh, you're muted. You're muted. You're muted.
Oh,
There you
yeah,
go.
there I go. Uh so I hear you on the all or nothing. It's easier to have boundaries when you can terminate the relationship. Someone crossing your boundary, okay, we're not in a relationship anymore. We're not here. You know what I mean? It's easier to have boundaries when you can just dismiss that person from your life. It's much harder to enforce boundaries with someone who you don't want to get rid of.
Mm. But I can say I never wanted to get rid of anyone. Even
Yeah.
some of the relationships that I have distanced myself from, I wouldn't say that I necessarily wanted to, or maybe I shouldn't have, but because there was a lack of, respect, I kind of felt like, what am I gonna do? I lost you again. Oh, there
Oh,
you go.
I don't know what's going on today. It keeps going in and out the internet.
Very
Um,
interesting.
but yeah, I hear you. It's not always that you want to get rid of the person, but I feel like I was always the oh well, guess you can't be in my life anymore person. Oh well.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that comes from when I've tried to put a boundary up with someone who I love and them saying, well, if you do that, then you don't love me.
Mm,
To a point where I believe that, you know, oh well, them violating this boundary that I have, this doing this thing that I don't like, they must not be for me. That person is not meant to be in my life. And it didn't matter who it was, whether it was family or a significant other or anything like that. It's just it can be hard in practice because people do receive boundaries as you don't love me. They don't understand that, like, no, I just am loving myself.
mm,
A boundary is loving yourself. It really is having unconditional love for yourself. And how you implement that boundary is how you have unconditional love for the other person. If you do it angrily, or rageful or, in a mean way, then you're not loving them by putting that boundary in. But putting a boundary in place and doing it in a loving and kind way, even if they react how they react, and really it's how they react that determines whether or not that relationship continues, right?
mhm.
And so people who handle other people having boundaries well probably have a lot of great relationships.
Right.
Right? And people who don't handle other people having boundaries, well, you probably get cut off a lot because you don't know when to stop. you
Hmm.
know we all know somebody like that who doesn't know when enough is enough.
They lack boundaries for themselves, and so a lot of times they don't know how to have
Have
boundaries with
boundaries for
other
other people.
people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
um and so just really quickly, because we are getting to we got about 10 more minutes left. um what I do have here is a list of ways of how you can implement a boundary in a loving way. um and particularly, like, if you're in the middle of a heated conversation or argument. One way is to say, I care about you and I'm not going to continue this conversation. And I've actually seen this one, like, not received well by someone else, but you've said what you said and then you have to stick to it. You know what I mean? Well, if you love me, you would have this conversation. No, I'm not. I'm not in a you don't want me to have this conversation right now. It's not going to end well for you or me. Like, I'm the most loving thing I can do for you right now is walk away. Which just kind of leads me to this next one, which is I'm stepping back because this dynamic, this situation or whatever, it's not healthy for me. It's not healthy for me. And so I'm stepping back from it because I don't this is not what I want for my life. Just a whatever the thing is, it doesn't even matter. It's just a way for you to let the other person know, like, hey, you can keep doing what you're doing. I am not doing this, and removing yourself from that situation. Um Would you would you like to read the last two that are on there?
Sure. I wish things were different. This is what I can offer now. Basically saying that, I can't really engage in this situation as it is. You know what I mean? I can't really help you with that because maybe I don't have the resources, I don't have the tools. I know, I don't want to say we all, but sometimes we go way out of our way to meet someone else's need, even
Yes.
when we don't have it to give. And, finding yourself depleted and, so on and so forth. That like never really ends well. You know what I
Right.
mean? When you give what you don't really have.
Right. Right.
Um, I won't carry responsibility for choices that aren't mine. That's a big one.
That's huge.
People laying things on your shoulders after they've made the decision to do X, Y, and Z, and now they expect you to fix it for them.
Right.
I've been there as well. It doesn't
Hmm.
feel good, it doesn't feel good at all, because here I am holding up, my end of the bargain and I'm doing my part
Right.
and you expect me to fix your mess, or you know what I mean. And the problem is with those sort of relationships, it's never just one time. You're going to constantly put your
Right.
superman or superwoman cape on and have to, fix this person's mess, you know what I mean. So yeah, these are some really really good examples. Thank you for sharing them, and I was doing the research.
Thank you.
Hmm.
Yeah, that last one is the one that got me because I cannot tell you the number of times that I've given someone advice not to do a thing and they do the opposite. And then they're like, "Oh, can you help me?" I helped you when I said don't do it.
Right. Right.
Excuse me, you want me to do what?
Right. Like, please.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm not gonna carry that responsibility. It was on you, and I didn't make that choice, so I'm not gonna be responsible for it. I love that one. I love it. I love it. I love it. So yeah. All right. So we have about 8 more minutes in this hour, and I want to get into these herbs. So I'm going to turn it over to you so you can talk about neem and rose. I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So we're talking about, again, unconditional love this month. And we wanted to bring you all some, of course, for a study hall, some things that you can add to your toolbox to help you with unconditional love. And earlier this month, it went off like a light bulb in my mind when Umi and I were talking. And I'm like, yeah, the bitter herbs are perfect for unconditional love because what they do is they support your liver, which is the organ that stores anger. You know what I mean? You would think anger was stored in the heart, but really it's in the liver. You know what I mean? And so I was just like, wow, okay, so what herbs are really beneficial to help us with, helping us to process our anger, process our emotions, and help us to get ourselves into that space of unconditional love. And the first one that came to me was neem. And it's because I take it myself. I take neem juice on a very regular basis. I got this from a Middle Eastern store, and I'm telling you, it's bitter. It's not that tasty, but it has helped me to soften what I was cracking up to myself when I was thinking about how everyone's talking about the soft life and living the soft life and soft life this and that. And I said, you know what? There's no soft life without your bitter herbs. You have got to process your emotions. You have got to process what it is that you're feeling. And our organs are specifically here for that. And so what neem does, it's a cooling herb. When we get angry, we get upset, we get hot. You know what I mean? But neem helps to cool us down. It helps us to see the truth in a situation. And let me tell you, since I've been taking neem on a daily basis, I'm telling you, the truth has been coming up for me even more. I'm seeing more sides to things. I'm having more compassion. I'm not just thinking about things from my point of view. So not only does it, it cools your body and your organs, and it removes any toxicity. It helps to clear out infections. It's great for oral health. It purifies your blood, and it helps you to stop with cravings. You know what I mean? Like a lot of us, we crave sweet things, and we crave, whatever. We all have our different cravings, but it really helps with that, and it helps to restore discernment for you. It helps you to pick what is healthy for you because you are not overly stimulated or heated. So I really wanted to talk about neem, and since we don't have a lot of time, I won't talk too much, but I, do some research on neem. You can get it in like this juice kind of form. You can get it in tincture. You can get the herb in tea form. It's extremely helpful for you. And the next one I have is what, rose, right?
Mm-hmm.
So rose is the herb of unconditional love. So from what I've learned over the past couple of years is that rose apparently has the highest frequency, and that's why it is given for as a symbol of love. You know what I mean? It is literally the highest frequency plant out there, and I thought that was just such a very interesting thing. You know what I mean? We think that things are symbolic for no reason, or people just make these things up. And to know that, however many years ago, someone decided that rose was going to be like that symbol of love and so on and so forth. And you know what I mean? And to come to find out when they, as they're doing tests for frequency and all of these different things, it's the highest one. I just thought that was really, really interesting. And so I have this rose hemp cast out soap that I wanted to show you all. Let me tell y'all something. When I first bought this and I use this in the shower, unconditional love, like I felt like I was being bathed in love. Like it immediately brought my frequency up higher. This one is Dr. Bronner's, but I'm sure there's other soaps and things like that. You could even make your own soap. But I wanted to share this one because it was just so I just had a moment in the shower. Like it was amazing.
Yeah.
And so with Rose, I feel like Rose, it helps to open the heart. It helps to, regulate your nervous system. You know what I mean? Essentially. And that's kind of like what I felt like when I had been using a lot of the different Dr. Bronner soap. I used the eucalyptus, the almond, et cetera, et cetera. But this rose one knocked everything out the park. So I wanted to show you guys that and give that as a thought for maybe you want to for something for you to try. And just anything that has rose essential oil. There's all kinds of different things. They have body sprays and that'll help to uplift your frequency and just make you feel good. So
Mhm.
yeah, think about rose. All right, over to you, Uni. I'm Umi. I'm sorry.
I was
Trying to
just
talk
thinking.
too fast.
I was just thinking as you were saying that probably bathing with like rose petals in your water, making steeping a nice rose tea and putting it.
Yes,
Yeah.
that
Either
too. I've done that as well. Yeah, it's
yeah.
amazing.
Um, that sounds awesome. So I have a couple of things. You all know that I will sing Tulsi's praises to the end of the earth because it has done wonders for me. And so the first one that I'll talk about is holy basil. I like to make tinctures. I do also drink it. It's very good as a tea. But I like having tinctures on hand because you can keep them in these little dropper bottles and have them on hand whenever you need them. take them throughout the day if need be, depending on what you're working on. I keep holy basil on me a lot because I have struggled with anxiety, and it really regulates the nervous system. That's the beauty of holy basil, aka Tulsi, is that it regulates your nervous system. And when we're talking unconditional love, it's really hard to have unconditional love when your nervous system is freaking out. Okay. And so that's why I wanted to kind of bring that one up. I make these myself. I basically get I have holy basil growing all around my property. But I will dry it, and then I have like random jars because I'm I'm an herbalist, so I have every type of jar. Anything that comes in a glass bottle that has a plastic top gets kept. So this is like an old kombucha bottle, and then that's just a mason jar with a plastic lid on it. But what I did, these are basically folk preparations. I don't I know that there's like weight to volume, all of that, and I've learned how to do those things, and that's wonderful. But what speaks to me is the folk method. And so this is a half folk infusion, and then this one is a third. And what that means is I basically put half of the level with the herb, and then I filled up the whole thing with the alcohol that I was using for the tincture. You don't have to use alcohol, you can use glycerin. You can also do oil infusions, but I would be weird about just taking an oil on, that often if you're going to be using it for medicinal purposes. Um, and you just let it sit. You just let it sit. This one is 1/3, so that means I put 1/3 of the herb and filled it the rest of the way with alcohol. Let them sit. I've had this one since 23. I've had both of these since 2023. Oh, they've been around. River, stop. Sorry, had to tell the dog to be quiet again. It's a lot going on around here because it's the holidays, so there's a lot for her to look at, and it's just like she's losing her mind. So that's Tulsi. Very great for regulating the nervous system. It's an adaptogen. It's just gonna help you adapt to stress. Totally necessary when you're working on incorporating unconditional love into your life. The other one I have is hawthorn berry. You can't see any of the labels on this thing. Again, I made it the same way. It was a like half herb to a full bottle of the alcohol. I use Christian Brothers brandy because I like the way it tastes. And so hawthorn is it's good for the heart. It's an herb that is great for circulation. It's a very heart opening herb. It's something that I'm newly working with, so I don't really have a whole lot of like firsthand knowledge to give you about what it feels like. I've been working with it for about 2 weeks now, and everything that I've read says that you got to kind of give it a few months before you start to really, feel a difference. Um, and so I really haven't noticed any specific um differences. However, I know that it's good for the circulatory system, and so I'm going to keep working with it, and I'll report back and let you guys know how this kind of turned out for me. I'm dealing with some issues with circulation in my legs, so hey, who knows? In 3 months, I may not have that problem anymore. I'll definitely let you all know. But I definitely recommend looking into these things. If you are on any kind of heart medication, though, or there are a few contraindications with hawthorn, so please, please, please do your research. Not a doctor, just somebody who likes plants.
Same. Same.
I think that's all we have today. Yeah, that's it. And we are well over our time. So I'm going to wrap it up here and just let everybody know how grateful I am for them. I'm so grateful for everyone who's out there who's watching. Um, I do want to say, if you're in the comments right now, let us know, what herbs do you work with? Let us know what practices you work with to incorporate unconditional love in your life. what's going on with dealing with anger. Do you have issues with anger? Have you a great way? If you have a great way to deal with anger, please put it in the comments. I need it. Give it to me because I'm working out some things. I'm being an honest human here. I'm having some issues. I'm working some stuff out. Help me. How do you deal with angry people? How do you deal with being angry yourself? I think that's all I have. Uni, anything you want to say? Any last words before we wrap up?
Yeah, I just want to thank you all so much for joining us on this journey. This month, we've been talking about unconditional love. I hope that, the resources, the tools, and the practices and things that we've shared throughout the month have helped you all. It's really helped me. It's helped me too. We've been, if nothing else, we've been if nothing else, we've been helping ourselves. I'm sorry, I
Right.
could be such a goofball, guys, but really, truly, we thank you all so much for joining us. We'll be back next week, same time, same place. We will be doing a year in review. Next Wednesday will be our 6 month anniversary, and we are so excited. We are so excited. We're so excited for the work that we've been doing, for the work that you've been doing, for the ways that you all have been showing up for us, showing up for yourselves more than anything else. This is a
Yes.
journey. We are your peer guides. We're here to help you as we are on this journey ourselves. And again, we just want to thank you all so much. And we will see you in the comments, same time, same place next week.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you all. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Be peaceful. May you be, I might as well say it, right? May you be happy. May you be well. May you be safe. May you be peaceful and at ease. And so it is. Amen,
And
amen,
so it
amen.
is.
Bye bye.
Amen.
Peace.
Peace, everyone.